I have always been unable to understand. When I gradually understood these truths, I am no longer young. These are all digressions. That period of time, I've been following this damn shady businessman around aimlessly. Did quite a few outrageous things. I have also encountered many unusual clients. Next, I will talk about this person. It's equally shocking. The day I remember correctly, it's still the weekend. Jew baby mysteriously went out for a while. It seems they are going to welcome that big client from last time. Early in the morning, I got dressed and was ready to go out. Remind me to take good care of the shop for him. I want to go with him. Take a look while you're at it. What does this big client look like? Jew Bappy shook his head and said, "Not possible. The person I am meeting this time is quite influential. They don't want to complicate things. Just stay honest and be good. It's time for you to step in. I will naturally inform you. I'm a bit annoyed. Ask him who the big client really is. It's so troublesome. Preparation work. It took such a long time." Jubapi said, "Why do you care so much? Anyway, when the time comes, can't do without your benefits." After speaking, he just left. I'm really bored watching the shop alone. Anyway, there hasn't been much business lately. Just about to close the shop and go to sleep. Unexpectedly saw someone wearing a gray shirt. A middle-aged person dressed very seriously and stiffly, holding a briefcase in hand, peeking around curiously, standing at the shop entrance, looking around. He seems to want to come in, but for some unknown concern. But I never took a step forward. I took the initiative to approach. "Old brother, something's up." "Up. I'll just take a look around." This guide is in his 40s, with a center-parted hairstyle. Apply oil to make the hair shiny and smooth. The clothing style is relatively conservative and outdated. A stern and serious expression. It seems like it might be hard to get along with. I just wanted to say something more. The middle-aged man has already turned and left, looking back as I walk, occasionally peeking inside the shop. I find this person quite funny. He has been standing at the door for so long. There must be something they want, yet hesitating, refusing to come in. It seems my personality is too rigid. Can't let go of the mental burden, huh? Actually, this is not surprising. We work in this industry. Let's call it a renowned business. To put it harshly, it's like eating the food of the dead, especially Jubapi, this old miser, to make money, willing to meet any kind of business. Last time, they actually brought me along, go to mourn for a lonely elderly person. The old man is said to be a veteran of the War of Resistance. Childless. Can't find anyone to see you off after you leave. So Jubapi went to impersonate his son. Let me be the grandson for the old man. The two brought the school department. From the luxury funeral home, he drove all the way to Nanshan Cemetery. Back home, my voice has been completely hoarse for 3 days. Swear to never engage in such a fruitless business again. These past 2 days, my voice has just recovered. Still here. Already. Stage. Seeing that middle-aged man with a stern expression, unwilling to speak out. I can't be bothered to chase after and ask any more. Just like that, a day passed. The next day, I opened for business as usual. Just sat down not long ago. That middle-aged man actually came again, still dressed as yesterday, holding the briefcase tightly in his arms. Yisheng Yigui stands at the shop's entrance. The eyes rolled around, peering inside. I was just about to get up. When I saw it, I was overwhelmed, then turned around and left immediately. Not a word is spoken. I find it particularly puzzling. I've seen quite a few oddballs lately. Yet I've never seen someone who comes to the door but doesn't speak. So I started to pay attention. Sure enough, it was the third day. A middle-aged person walks towards the shop early in the morning, still looking hesitant. Always keep this door closed. I can't take it anymore. I feel like this guide is probably sick. Can't do business. One must always greet others with a smile. I had to put on a thick skin. She walked up with a beaming smile and said, "Older brother, you've been here for 3 days now. There must be something going on. Why are you blocking the door and not coming in? I won't let the dog bite anyone here." The middle-aged man looked at me with a stern expression. "Pound your head. Where is the owner of this store?" I suddenly realized. Emotions are coming to find Zhu Bapi. "Brother, your timing is unfortunate." He went out again. "If you have any difficulties, you can tell me. I can help you solve it too." The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment, looking at me with suspicion. "You—" "I have gotten used to it. Treated with bias by clients, who made themselves look young. At first glance, it doesn't seem like they're in this line of work. But to retain the current customers—" Still smiling, she said, "Don't underestimate me because of my young age. They are also people who make a living from this. If you believe it, I'll just come in and sit for a while. Lao Ju is expected to be away for several days this time. I can't let you go back empty-handed every time." The middle-aged man pondered. This is when he entered the shop with me. After taking a seat, I hurriedly poured him a cup of tea, the appearance of middle-aged people, but seemed very nervous, the briefcase tightly clutched in his arms. Let me make a mistake. He thought it was in his briefcase. What valuable things were installed! Xiao Dao. Don't worry. Now is a society governed by the rule of law. No one is stealing your money. I smiled. These days there are an extraordinary number of licking dogs. And there's everything, even licking. Isn't it just a bunch of documents? It's like a state secret. From this I can also see this guy has a strong personality, a rather conservative and old-fashioned person. I can't understand him. Why did you come to this store? Let's get straight to the point. Tell me about your story. Let me see if I can help you solve this. The middle-aged man is suspicious and paranoid. It feels a bit difficult to bring up. Still turned around. I glanced toward the shop's main entrance. Make sure no one is paying attention over here. He lowered his voice. I want to find someone to help solve that kind of problem." As soon as I looked. Startled. "What kind of problem are you talking about?" He looked a bit awkward and uneasy. Looking around, he hesitated to speak. "What aspect are you referring to?" "They are all men. You should understand right." I suddenly realized. He let out a groan and said, "So that was the reason. Just say what you want to say directly. Why are you being so evasive? But speaking of which, male reproductive health issues, it is best to find a doctor and resolve this quickly. What made you think to come here?" "I have taken a lot of medicine, but there has been no improvement." The middle-aged man's expression became even more awkward. "My lips are a bit dry," licking their lips from time to time. I smiled and handed him the cup. "Don't be nervous, brother. Everyone is a gentleman. I won't spread rumors everywhere." The middle-aged man refuses to take my cup. I said I have it myself. Then he opened the briefcase. Find an old-fashioned stainless steel cup from inside. Said they never drink water from outside. Afraid of unsanitary conditions. Always carry a cup with you. I don't find this surprising at all. Many people hold rigid and conservative views. Everyone has their own way of life. After finishing the water, he began to tell me about his problems. The middle-aged man's surname is Fang. This year I am 43 years old. He is a small section chief in a unit, mainly responsible for logistics work. Life is manageable. Lao Fang is a rather rigid person. After graduating from school, I was assigned to work at this current organization. After 20 years of hard work, I finally became the section chief, although lacking real power. But I can be considered a veteran of the organization. There are many things in logistics. Everything is decided by him alone. In theory, such people live a smooth life. A lifetime rarely experiences significant fluctuations. But the old house has a hidden secret. It had troubled him for many years. I was injured when I was young, had several surgeries, causing the following to be a bit weak. My ex-wife also had this reason. We had a quarrel and got a divorce. Later, Lao Fang spent over a decade alone in confinement. I thought of many ways. None of them were able to cure the illness. I thought that in this lifetime, the joy from the lower body can no longer be experienced. Gradually, I came to accept reality. I didn't expect that. Recently, a middle-aged woman was transferred to our unit. She is exceptionally beautiful. Character is also good because of the department where that woman works. The logistics are located quite close to the old house. Back and forth. The two developed a fondness for each other, but the old man hesitated to confront that woman, engage in substantial pursuits. In his own words, although I have a high level of culture, highly favored by single women, what can be done, knowing the heavens above and feeling weary below? Thinking about it makes me worry so much that my hair turns gray. I couldn't help but steal after listening. But to take care of her emotions, I can only hold back my laughter. Your question is a bit difficult to handle. Feng Shui can only enhance romantic relationships, but it cannot cure all diseases. I can find a way. Let you be with that woman. As for what happens after your marriage, Mr. Fang said again, isn't it written on your door curtain? Can you help customers solve all their problems? Why can't I do it? Could it be a scammer? I'm feeling a bit upset. How to talk? But didn't have time to argue with her. He just shrugged. Feng Shui can solve Kai flow issues. Spiritual objects can help people avoid disasters. But there are physical issues. It would be more appropriate to see a doctor. I haven't finished speaking. She started to scold people with a stern face. Since you can't cure all ailments, why should we hang such curtains to address customers' problems? What's the difference between this and a scammer? You are not honest at all. I have no words. Say, old brother, you haven't heard of the two words call. Marketing right. On the television commercial, so many exaggerated and laughable products. You don't complain. Why are you still arguing with me? Old Feng shook his head vigorously. I haven't watched television in a long time. People these days are becoming more and more unreasonable. Every day, shooting some melodramatic soap operas filled with ethical dilemmas. It makes me angry just to think about it. I feel like this guy is a bit cynical. The topic quickly went off track. Soon, we started talking about marriage again, regarding the bride price, constantly criticizing these social phenomena. People's hearts are not what they used to be. Do you know what I dislike the most? The women on the street. They are all shameless, exposing arms and legs. There are tattoos. That day I strolled around other departments at work. I unexpectedly saw several young girls wearing revealing outfits. come to our office to handle business. You say, "What kind of nonsense is this?" Aren't their parents concerned at all? Really shameful for these people's ancestors. Listening to her talk endlessly, a large spittle of saliva almost sprayed on my face. I quickly interrupted. "Older brother, the mindset of young people. It's different from your whole life. There's nothing worth criticizing. Society must progress right. Farting. What kind of nonsense is this? In this day and age, few women discuss the three obediences and four virtues. Who are those shining bragging rights for? It's clear that there is a lack of upbringing and shame." She got even more excited. The more we talked, the more excited we became. I feel helpless. I can only say, everyone has their own way of living. Just manage yourself well. Let's talk about you again, shall we? I suggest you. It would be best to find a professional hospital for the examination. There may still be hope for recovery. I am already a bit impatient. But the old house no longer has my expression. Still shaking his head and nodding, unable to say it. I felt so embarrassed going to the infirmary, especially during the examination. I still have to take off my pants in front of the doctor. My old family home is, after all, a scholarly lineage. This is too embarrassing to spread. You quickly come up with a solution for me. I throw up my hands, expressing that one is truly at a loss. I'm not good at healing. She immediately pouted. Still say, "You are not fraudulent scammers." Cannot do it. Just take down the sign. Don't come to the street any more, deceiving consumers with tricks and illusions. Otherwise I will report you. I was so angry I almost rolled my eyes. This is so damn stupid. It's unreasonable. Did I offend you with my shop? I've been in this line of work for so long. I gradually discovered a pattern. Only those who truly can find their way here. Most of them love to get stuck on trivial matters. A quirky person who is quite stubborn in life. Mr. Zhu is like this. This old house in front of me is the same. I endured in silence. You should still leave. I won't do business with you. You don't take down the sign. Why should I leave? The old house still has its charm, an expression that is hard to deceive. While speaking, he took out his teacher's Nokia phone. At that moment, I panicked. Ju Bappy had applied for a license. On the business operations side, it's about running a jewelry business. I secretly hoarded a lot. Beverage, if this is discovered by the Industry and Commerce Bureau, not only does the shop have to shut down, I guess I won't be able to work in this field anymore. I hurriedly stopped Leifang. Why bother, brother? Are you being so serious about this? The old man said with a stern face. Chairman Mao once said, "The most feared words are serious and earnest." We party members take things the most seriously. Either help me solve the problem, either I'll report you for business fraud. Your grandmother's. I swear I was at that moment. I really feel like hitting someone, truly deserving of working at the company, starting off with grand principles. I really have no choice but to hold on to my teeth. I had no choice but to swallow my anger. Let's do it this way. Give me some time. Let me think carefully. Let's see how I can help you. Is this the appropriate attitude for a business? You need to know. The customer is God, no matter what requests I make. You should try your best to find a way to satisfy. The old house is satisfied. He brushed his hair back into a middle parting. Satisfied, holding the cup of water. Stand up and speak. I will come back at this time tomorrow. Little brother, don't you dare fool me. I work at a government office. The people from the Bureau of Industry and Commerce are also quite familiar." "How could that be?" The grandfather quietly: "Send this old gentleman out of the shop. Turn and give yourself a glance. Cursed with a bad omen. Let your mouth be reckless. Why did you provoke it? Such a difficult client. Maybe I have no choice but to make the call. Jew Bappy's phone number." At first he didn't answer. "You hung up on me again." "I'll hit him again and hang up." It wasn't until the afternoon that I returned the call. He started complaining right away. "What's wrong with you, brother?" I was having a great conversation with a major client. "Why do you keep getting phone calls?" "I am helpless. I don't want to argue with you either." A newcomer arrived at the shop, a rather difficult client. If I don't come up with a solution, help him solve the problem, someone is going to make a phone call, file a complaint with the Commerce Bureau against us. Jew Bappy was delighted. "Who is being so twisted? Let him file a complaint. I dare to start a business. Still afraid of complaints. That's not how I speak. I feel like this client is quite difficult to handle. Even if the people from the Bureau of Industry and Commerce don't come to check, he comes to cause a commotion every now and then. It's not a big deal." Jew Bappy asked me what the matter was. I had no choice but to explain the situation in detail. I thought he would share my animosity towards the enemy. I feel like the customer is being unreasonable. "Who knew this guy?" actually started laughing. I thought it was an unreasonable request. Emotions are just for this little matter. This business can be accepted. I was stunned. When it comes to emotions, you're still an old Chinese medicine doctor. Even this kind of illness can be cured. Could be that a long illness makes one a good doctor? Jew Bappy laughed and scolded. "Go to hell. I'm not incompetent. I'm not a doctor either. I said I'm not a doctor. Why did you agree so quickly?" "Lao Feng suffers from erectile dysfunction. He has already taken a lot of medicine in the field. There hasn't been much effect. You can't expect me to go to the pharmacy to buy 2 bottles of Viagra. Let's repackage it and sell it to him. No need to complicate things. Patients like him who suffer from long-term erectile dysfunction. Even taking Viagra might not be effective." Jew Bappy said again, "We need to handle this. The most effective method is to use the approach of Thai prostitutes. Have you ever heard of petroleum lip balm?" "What is this?" "Lipstick. Return the oil." Can these two things be connected?" Jew Bappy sighed deeply. "You've been with me for so long. Besides holding that worn-out book all day long. Studying Feng Shui theory. Can't learn anything else. I tell you, the methods for changing one's fortune are not unique to China. Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, is also very popular. Moreover, speaking of the level of benefit, Thai amulets are much larger in market size than Feng Shui." I remembered the fate of Mr. Zhu and Fang Feng, shaking his head vigorously. "Say no. What you gave me is all too sinister. Every time a customer is done, something unlucky happens. I decided long ago not to use it anymore." He called me stupid. "I've already told you. Clients have bad luck because they have their own problems. It has nothing to do with my foggy feelings. Say it again. What we need this time isn't just a brand name." I thought about it. He asked again, "You didn't say that just now. Is petroleum lip balm used by prostitutes in Thailand?" But this time the client is a man. He let out a hum. "If you say you lack experience, that's not acceptable. Who said prostitutes can only be female? Have you ever heard of Thai ladyboys?" I was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. What to say? Transgender individuals can also use this thing. Nonsense. Ju Bapi angrily said. The most developed place in Southeast Asia's sex industry. Undoubtedly, it must be Thailand. The southern Batia is widely recognized as a surname. City of Love. Do you know about the women and the transgenders over there? Why is it so popular in the international market? I tentatively asked. Because of the petroleum lip balm. It's not entirely true, Ju Bapi said. This question is complicated to explain. In any case, I have a way. Just let him not have his glorious moment. Tomorrow, after the one with the surname Fang arrives. You should respond the way I taught you. All right. Ju Bapi said so. I had no choice but to follow through. Sure enough, early the next morning, Lao Fang has come over, still wearing that old-fashioned conservative outfit. I invited him into the shop. Didn't have time to speak up. The old man got straight to the point. What I told you about yesterday? Can it really be done? I have a sense of certainty in my heart. Her face was calm and unhurried. Smiling, he said, It can be done. I have a cousin abroad who is in the medicinal herbs business. They produce a type of divine oil, can help most men regain their vitality. You said, Could it be Indian oil? Lao Fang looked at him with suspicion, said that he had also asked a friend to bring some back before. The effect can't be said to be non-existent, but it's not particularly effective. I am busy talking. Not from India. It is Thailand. Are these foreign things reliable? Since you are helping me heal, why not use domestic products? What annoys me the most? It's you young people. The facade of being sycophantic to foreign cultures. Traditional Chinese medicine has developed for thousands of years, long renowned for its profound depth and world-leading status. Even if used, we should also use things from our own culture. The old house chattered nervously. Every word drips with Western admiration. Talk about imported goods. Just boasting a lot. The effectiveness may not be that reliable. It makes me both angry and amused. He snorted and said, So, do you want to get treated or not? You should only trust traditional Chinese medicine. Please turn left when you go out. There's a traditional medicine shop just 2 streets ahead. The doctor at the entrance has good skills. Just go find him. Bring Dover to me. He was rendered speechless by what I said, with a snort. If I weren't afraid of embarrassing myself, I should have gone to a proper hospital long ago. You still have a chance. Got it. Emotions, in his view, willing to lower oneself and show deference. You've already let me take advantage. I don't want to waste my breath talking to someone like that. Yiben Genjing Dao. If you want to treat it, just follow my rules. First, pay a deposit of 5,000 yuan. It's almost in hand. I will personally deliver it to you. He immediately turned his face away. But medicine is so expensive. You can use the 5,000 deposit. And there's no stock available yet. I snorted coldly. Imported items are certainly a bit more expensive. After all, we have to go by sea transport. This medicine, we usually don't need it. Of course, we wouldn't stock up in advance. Just say whether or not you want to. Lao Fang hesitated a bit. Asked me if I can lower the price a bit more. Seeing him act so petty. I'm too lazy to greet anyone anymore, said while yawning. We conduct business with clear pricing. Even if you are gone, you need to pay to enjoy the service, right? Lao Fang gritted his teeth and said, Chen, 5,000 is fine. You must ensure that it is effective. Otherwise, I will definitely find someone to seal your shop. He reluctantly handed over the money. Asked me when to pick up the goods. I said impatiently, What's the hurry? deposit received. I will naturally find a way to help you contact the supplier. International shipping doesn't happen overnight. You go back and wait for news. The items have arrived. I will naturally deliver it to you." He stormed off angrily. I quickly got in touch with Zhu Bapi. Let him contact quickly. Shipping from over there. 5 days passed like this. I finally received a JIGQ80 package. Upon opening the package, it is a semi-transparent bottle about the size of a floral water bottle. It contains an unknown yellow liquid. Inside, a pair of embracing lovers. This scene makes me a bit blush. Call Zhu Bapi. The goods have arrived. "What kind of style is this?" Zhu Bapi scolded me for lacking insight. "C'est, that is Ma Shining's style. As for the yellow liquid in the bottle, is a potion refined from poultry soy sauce. As long as when doing business, just apply a little. Guaranteed to become a superhero in 1 second." I almost laughed out loud. "Just talk beta, will you? Blow with all your might. I just don't believe in this world there is such a magical thing. You really shouldn't doubt it. Effects of poultry soy sauce medicine, especially domineering. Many Thai bosses like to use this model. Don't be fooled by its lack of popularity domestically. Put it in the local area. But the underground market, one of the best-selling medications. Listening to him speak so lively, I can't help but be curious. Ask him, what is poultry soy sauce?" Zhu Bapi smiled darkly. "As the name suggests, it is the corpse that died for the sake of the poultry. The wet oil has been refined. People who usually die for birds. There is a strong desire for the opposite sex within oneself. Local Ajahn master will gather these corpses, smoke the chin with copper oil, refining wet oil for extraction. Extracted good wet oil, still just a half-finished product, must cooperate with Ma Xingnang's golden incantation to achieve the strongest effect, designed to enhance male confidence. Remarkable effect. Only those who use it know." Hearing him speak so confidently, I seriously suspect the old man had secretly rubbed it on himself before. Zhu Bapi coughed once. "That's exactly right. This thing is particularly rare in the country, because the effect is too domineering. Must control the dosage when using. There is still. He and his roommate can only apply lipstick externally. Don't get stuck inside. Otherwise the effect will be explosive. Will explode she." I nodded and said I remember, after hanging up the phone. "Just prepare to deliver to the old house we contacted. Who would have thought the call couldn't get through? Thinking about how this old guy was so anxious before. Almost every other day they come to urge me. Why can't I reach you right now? Anyway, there's nothing happening in the store. I plan to deliver it to him in person." Unexpectedly discovered the hidden side of the old house. The workplace at the old house is indeed great. I just arrived at his workplace entrance. I found a long line outside. Everyone is rushing to get their business done. In this day and age, ordinary people struggle to get things done. The process we need to go through is particularly difficult. I'm not in a hurry anyway. He waited at the entrance of his workplace. Kept watch until after 5 in the afternoon. The number of people in line gradually decreased. I just ran over. Asked a female employee. Inquire about the hometown. I need to speak with the housing department head about something. Staff at the unit. You're a bit indifferent to me. Put on a look of having a secure job. What do you need to see the housing section chief about? We do not entertain connections here. I was speechless. I'm not here to network. The head of your housing department has something to ask me. The clerk sitting behind the iron bars. He finally looked up at me. pointed to the back of the workplace, saying that Lao Fang handles logistics, not responsible for frontline work. Let me go to the back office to look for it. I don't want to watch these people's expressions. Take the gear. Went to the back door of their unit. Sure enough, I am behind the corridor, a hidden office. I saw the old house. This guy is wearing glasses, looking at the computer screen meticulously. Even I didn't notice it back then. I was thinking, this guy may not have the best temper, but when it comes to work, he is quite serious. Deserves it. Praise for the people's good servant. Little did I know as I approached, after catching a glimpse of the content on the computer screen, but suddenly I was stunned. Surprisingly, it was playing on the screen. Live broadcast from a certain spicy platform. The woman in the frame has a seductive figure, wearing a sheer fabric-based dress. Pose flirtatiously in front of the camera. Don't mention how unsightly it is. And came from the old house of righteousness. Watched with great interest. I can't bear to look away. Falling into the screen. Rely on. I thought she was honest. I cleared my throat softly. Sir, what are you looking at, old house? It's already past working hours. You have quite a serious work attitude. The old man looked anxious. Quickly cover the screen with your hand. Suddenly stood up from the seat. Roar at me. This is my office. Why did you come in without knocking? I chuckled. I see you're working so diligently overtime. I couldn't bear to disturb you. Recently, the organization needs to prepare materials. I signed up. I'm preparing the topic. I plan to start with the topic of live streaming. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. Side eye speaking, as expected of a party coder, understanding the entry point of the people's suffering. It's just tricky. Your unit should gather more people to learn from you. Lao Tzu chuckled twice. Didn't serve the tea. He asked me what I came to find him for. I said the things have arrived. Do you really want it or not? Lao Tzu immediately said, "Me? How can I not? We've been waiting for you for so long. Hurry up and show it to me. Wait a moment. This is not the place. Let's go talk in the back." He pulled me. Exit through the back door of the unit. They arrived at a deserted place. Just said it casually. How did you get this thing? Bring it to my workplace. It's so embarrassing to be seen by others. I am, after all, a leader. I laughed dismissively. As long as one behaves properly and sits upright. Still afraid of being seen. The old house feels a bit embarrassed. His face looked difficult to read. Stop talking to me like that. I don't need you to teach me the principles of life. Where are the things? I immediately handed the bottle over. Lao Fang received the items, looking left and right. Her expression suddenly darkened. You spent so much money just to give me this. I said seriously. Correct. This is it. Don't be fooled by the outer packaging of this bottle. It seems very simple. This is high-end goods from Pattaya, Thailand. Many local celebrities are keen on this model. The effect is definitely good. He harbored doubts. What if it doesn't work? I shrugged. Definitely works. Anyway, you know where my shop is. If the effect is not good, you can come to find me anytime. That's true. Lao Fang quickly stuffed it into the briefcase. It's none of your business anymore. Hurry up and go. I am reluctant. What are you walking for? The previous 5,000 yuan was just a deposit. You still owe me half of the payment. Lao Fang got what he wanted. Not in a hurry at all now. Shaking their head and speaking in official jargon. You young people, what's the rush? I definitely won't lack for money from you. But you have to let me try it out first, right? Once upon a time, can you issue a legitimate invoice? Write a note about health supplements. I need to find an opportunity to ask the company for reimbursement. I was speechless. I definitely can't issue an invoice for health supplements. Do you want a fuel ticket? Okay. As long as it's a proper invoice, it's fine. Remember to open it more. There is a need at my workplace. I blurted out, speaking of the matter of making a profit. They are more professional. Don't take my things for free. You can still find a way to make some extra money. Even Somali pirates aren't this ruthless. I am used to these phenomena. I can't be bothered to express any opinions. Just as I was about to leave, a sweet voice came to my ears. Lao Fan, what are you doing here? Everyone has finished work. I made soup at home. Do you want to come over to my place tonight to try it? I was taken aback, turning to look at the woman who is speaking. He is in his 30s. The woman with a snake-like waist, dressed in formal attire. The waistline is exquisite. Wide hips and big butt. At first glance, it clearly belongs to that type. A woman who is exceptionally capable. This woman has a pair of peach blossom eyes. There is a powdery spot on the brow. Mei Yu Han Chun, a typical peach blossom fate. Although the maintenance is very thorough, the skin appears snow-white and delicate. Only the skin may sag later, according to what is written in the fragrant book. Clearly a consequence of excessive indulgence. The loss of desire. Here it comes. I am still in a daze. Lao Fang has already greeted with a cheerful smile, pulling the woman's muscles. The delicate little hands of Wugu. I laughed so hard I almost drooled. I've been wanting to make soup with you for a long time. Weren't you always busy with work before? Unable to break free. I happen to have some free time today. Let's go to your house and have a good talk. No need to say. The woman before us is exactly what Lao Fang mentioned. That female colleague who has a mutual attraction. Didn't expect to be so charming and alluring. They say a woman has three things like a wolf. Four matters are like a tiger. Looking at the woman's appearance and figure. The wolf in the fearful wolf. I don't know about Lao Fang's frail little body. Can you bear it? No wonder she was in such a hurry to ask me to buy medicine. Of course, this is someone else's business. I can't be bothered to comment. Watching old Fang smile broadly. Walking out of the office with a female colleague. I also shook my head. I plan to go back. Passing by the entrance of her workplace, I heard the clerk just now. Zheng Ziashen was whispering with his colleagues. This woman, Liu Yume. So soon, you've teamed up with Lao Fang again. You are truly diligent. Another female colleague whispered. Isn't that right? I heard that old Fang is going to give birth soon in the second half of the year. I have several opportunities for full-time positions in hand. They are quite clever, understanding how to pave the way for oneself in advance. Really interesting. You can see that Liu Yume, she isn't exactly a proper woman. They probably have their eyes on Lao Fang's influence at the workplace. Want to rely on her for a permanent position. Although I am still young, I have been by Zhu Bapi's side for nearly half a year. I have accumulated quite a bit of social experience. No wonder Lord Huingsy was in such a hurry when he left. You sent me here. Returned to the shop. I prepared in advance. Invoice. Ready? The next morning, Lao Fang was indeed holding his waist. Come find me for the invoice. I saw him trembling on his legs, looks unsteady even while walking. I couldn't help but laugh. Lao Fang glanced at me seriously, asked me why I'm laughing. I said it's nothing. even if I think it's not easy for you. So concerned about the life of a female subordinate. You must have gained a deep understanding last night." He still held that stern and serious face. "Nonsense. Zio Liu and I are in a relationship based on love. Don't speak so harshly. I have already brought one. Where is the invoice I requested?" He only said he wants the receipt. Yet no one questioned the effectiveness of my potion. Then he asked how effective the medicine was. Lao Fang finally showed a smile, said with squinted eyes, "Not bad. It's just that there's too little potion. It probably won't be long." I was taken aback. "No way. That's a full bottle. More than 300 milliliters. Just apply a little each time. That thing is just like an herbal balm. Don't apply it carelessly," Lao Fang said. "I know. Every time, just a little. Just apply a few more times, and it will be gone soon." He had a look of impatience. "Why do you have so much nonsense to say?" "Accumulated savings for over a decade. It will definitely be enough." I shake my head, didn't say anything further. This matter has passed just like that. The next day Zhu Bapi returned, asked me anxiously, "How is the client's matter being handled?" I yawned and said, "Not bad. At least old Fang didn't complain. I need to file a complaint with the business bureau. But looking at him like this, that bottle of potion is likely not enough. It won't be long. I will definitely come back." Zhu Bapi smiled and said, "That relationship is good. It's also good to cultivate long-term clients. By the way, had a good conversation with the client this time. They promised to give me the business. Get ready. Next week I will take you on a trip. The big deal has finally arrived. I wonder what the big deal is. You still haven't told me." Zhu Bapi looked around. "Lower your voice and say, 'Kyanvan, I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. I thought it was just a big deal business.' Isn't Kyanvan just about finding good feng shui? This is also considered my old profession. Why make it all so mysterious?" I looked at him with disdain, although during this time, always hanging out aimlessly with Zhu Bapi, left by the adoptive father, I have never forgotten my craft. He studies his feng shui tricks every now and then. I consider myself to have achieved some modest success. Zhu Bapi whispered, "It's purely the business of Kyanfin. Of course, it's nothing serious. But do you know, is this for whom the thousands of graves are?" Seeing his expression so strange, I hurriedly asked, "Who is it for?" Zhu Bapi leaned in close to my ear, softly uttered a name. I was completely shocked after listening. Ask him if he made a mistake. He said with a smile, "Of course there will be no mistake. I have met the client in person. It's rare to land a job with such a popular female celebrity. I guess you didn't expect this, did you?" "Uh, I really didn't expect that. I'm fortunate to be able to help someone. The superstar MS Shan Fen, famous across the two sides of the Strait and three regions. It truly is a big deal. Actually, I don't really follow celebrities. As a child, I learned feng shui from my adoptive father. He doesn't really let me watch TV. After becoming an adult, because of disordered feng shui, almost died at Leprosy Ridge. Later, I followed Master Huang Si to learn mediumship techniques. There is almost no time to pay attention to entertainment news. After all, today's world is an information age. Entertainment news bombards us from all directions. I would still come across news about some entertainment stars. It is said that this divine lady is originally from Guangdong. At a young age, they went to Hong Kong and Macau to strive for success. Later, I rose to power with the help of a benefactor. participated in several blockbuster films. In just a few years, it became popular across both sides of the strait. Claimed to be a highly sought-after top brand. I can't understand such a person of status and importance. How did you find Jubapi to do business? Jubapi winked at me with a mysterious expression. If those of us in this line of work want to get rich, it's important to build up some connections. Don't always mess with me like this. The network of connections behind her is quite extensive. Don't even mention movie stars, even if some wealthy merchants are about to. It's inevitable to have intermediaries like me involved. I suddenly realized. It is said that the wealthier a person is, the more superstitious they become and the more they fear death. It seems to be true. I never expected Jubapi to have such a complex web of relationships. It seems I've found the right person this time. Grown up this big. I've never seen what a real star looks like. Just thinking about a week later, you will be able to meet MS Shen in person. I can't help but feel a little excited, thinking of those beautiful stars portrayed on television, wearing a bodycon skirt, the appearance of walking the runway. His face was filled with excitement. Jubapi saw through my little thoughts. A smile. Don't think of these celebrities as being that great. Although the stage is glamorous, but privately they are all just ordinary people. You will understand after you experience it. He gave me a sum of money. Let me go out to buy something. Chentu, Diane's clothes, to avoid a clear confrontation with others. Still dress so drearily. Lost the store's reputation. It's rare to find this miser. I can't believe they would actively give me money. I have my doubts. Is the sun rising in the west today? Jubapi scoffed. This is called investment. If I don't package you up nicely, a big star, why should you trust my abilities? Anyway, after completing this job, I've already received quite a bit of reward. I'll give you a little incentive. It doesn't matter. The next day I went to the mall to buy clothes. Just as Huang Yun called me, said that they have returned from Chongqing. Let me go to the station to pick him up. I was thinking, anyway, there's nothing much going on. He readily agreed. Met outside the station. You must be exhausted. Huang Yun forced a smile. It's okay. After all, Fang Fang is. You also have responsibilities. Fortunately, his parents knew that Fang Fang was hospitalized. I have already rushed back from out of town. Jiasheng Feng Feng has been recovering quite well recently. I bought a ticket and went home by myself. I plan to take a good rest. For Fang Fang's sake. Yuan Yun hasn't returned to school for a long time. Fortunately, he only attended an art school. Home and school are connected. Don't worry that missing classes will prevent you from graduating. I am eager to learn about Fang Fang's recovery situation. Ask him, what is the situation now? Huang Yun sighed and said, are you okay? The body has mostly been adjusted and healed. Just greedy and lost track of time. I have been lying in the hospital all this time. I haven't gotten out of bed much. The weight has started to increase again. I said being a little chubby doesn't really matter, as long as the body can withstand it. It's better than being so thin before. Huang Yun bitterly smiled and said to himself, I originally intended to help out of kindness. Taking the small one almost cost Fang Fang her life. Now that I think about it, the previous behavior was truly immature. I comforted him by saying, this can't be blamed on you either. All right, let's not talk about these unhappy things anymore. It's rare to have you back. I invite you to dinner. Go back to that restaurant again. Huang Yun smiled and said, sure. Look at me from top to bottom again. The answer lies in the path. You are now better than when we first met. Much more generous now. Looks like you've made quite a bit of money, huh? I felt my face flush. Where are you talking about? Just passing the days. After eating, I sent Huang Yun home. Only returned when it was almost dark. I haven't had much to do these days. Huang Yun frequently invites me out to chat. Shared many interesting things about life. Sometimes we often talk about it getting dark. To be honest, I gradually discovered myself. It's a bit fast, can't hold on. Looking several times at Huang Yun's pair of sparkling, lively eyes, almost couldn't resist kissing. But reason kept me restrained. Never took that step. The weekend is quickly approaching. Ju Bapi told me it's time to set off. He has already made an appointment with MS Shen's assistant. We will meet at a tea restaurant in Guangdong the day after tomorrow. I was thinking, this business trip will likely take some time. So he arranged to meet Huang Yun again. I want to take on the business myself. Need to inform Huang Yun about going to Guangdong. Now Zio just went to the place they agreed to eat. I haven't had the chance to tell Huang Yun about it yet. I heard a greeting from the table next to me. Wan An, what a coincidence. It's great to meet you here. I was taken aback. I turned around and saw the person greeting me. It turns out to be an old house. A captivating figure sat beside him, the woman with eyes like peach blossoms. It was my female colleague, Liu Yumei. It's clear that there has been in-depth discussion and exchange during this time. Lao Fang and Liu Yumei have confirmed their romantic relationship. The two of them still leaned close together while eating, the way we are so into each other, even more clingy than young people. I said hello. How has old Fang been feeling lately? The old man's stiff, expressionless face suddenly broke into a broad smile. Not in agreement. That effect is nice. Thank you for helping me regain my man's dignity. Our conversation was all absorbed by Liu Yumei. He not only felt embarrassed. Instead, he took the initiative to wrap his arm around Lao Fang's arm. Speak in a voice that is overly sweet. In front of a large crowd. What are you talking about? It's so embarrassing. He said he felt embarrassed. Yet her face appears vividly alluring. It looks like a wild cat that has just eaten its fill. Flirting playfully. The face is full of the allure of a mature woman. My gaze is a bit awkward. It wasn't appropriate to continue the conversation with Lao Fang in front of Huang Yun. I can only turn back and continue eating. When it was time to check out, Huang Yun secretly pointed towards the old house. He whispered to me, "How did you get to know someone like that?" "I don't really know Uncle Sheng Xiao. Lao Fang is my client. I bought some things for him." Huang Yun let out a groan. He pointed at the woman next to the old house. This woman clearly looks like a seductress, especially good at seducing men. Aged now, speaking so sweetly. I chuckled. Shaking his head, he didn't accept the tea. It's getting late. I took Huang Yun to the roadside to catch a taxi. After watching him get into the taxi, I originally planned to walk back. At that moment, footsteps were heard behind. Looking back, I saw the old house nervously following behind. "Wan Ben, wait for me." I stood my ground. I found out that Liu Yumei is actually not together with anyone. Curiosity has reached its peak. "Why did you run out here alone? Where are you going?" The old house doesn't like my name for Liu Yumei. Put on a stern face. "What are you talking about? Liu Yumei and I are in a normal romantic relationship, okay?" I chuckled to myself. He asked again why he was chasing after me. Lao Fang entered with a shy demeanor. Rubbing his hands, he said, "The medicine you sold me last time. Is there more?" I was startled. "What do you mean by that? Could it be that you'll use it all up? Oh, heavens! How long has it been? The dosage I'm giving you is enough for at least 6 months." The old house lowered its head ambiguously, said with a sly smile, "You don't know. Yume looks so enchanting at night." I was full of black lines. I admire her determination to go 7 times in one night. As an older man, after all, one should prioritize their health. That effect is indeed quite good, but it can't withstand such trouble. Money is just a trivial matter. I'm very worried about whether the old house can withstand this condition. Lao Fang felt embarrassed himself, whispered, "You can't blame me for this. As long as it's Yume, she's just too charming. Once upon a time, the medicine you gave me worked at first, but gradually. It doesn't seem to be that effective, does it? I now use double the medication each time. It still feels a bit off." I rolled my eyes in disbelief. Isn't this nonsense? People have drug resistance, even if it's an elixir. You can't just apply the essential oil casually. Over time, the body becomes accustomed to the effects of the medicine. Definitely not as effective as before. Lao Fang awkwardly said that I still want to ask. If you don't apply it externally, apply directly, will the effect be better? I gasped in shock. What's wrong? Aren't you still craving more? The old house felt a mix of laughter and tears. Shaking his head, "It's like this. Lately things have been a bit tight. The body gradually can't keep up. Yesterday when I was applying it on myself, a sudden idea emerged. If applied internally like this, will the effectiveness be a bit better?" So he secretly licked it with his tongue. I didn't expect the results to be surprisingly good, much more intense than usual. Yume couldn't help but praise how capable I am. "You really have a sharp tongue, don't you?" I feel extremely disgusted. This is meant to touch there. He actually dared to stick out his tongue. I don't know. How should this behavior be described? If Lao Fang knew. The process of making poultry soy sauce. Can't we just spit out the overnight stuff? No way. This can only be applied externally. Absolutely forbidden to apply internally. Don't think I'm joking with you. I can only smile wryly. Okay, I understand. I'll buy from you next time. Let's go back first." After finishing, he hurriedly ran into the dining room. Liu Yume is waiting for him at the restaurant entrance. The two share a deep bond, walking arm in arm on the street. He walked towards a nearby car. The door hasn't even closed yet. The old house with nowhere to place its restless hands. Already starting to be disobedient. Liu Yume didn't really refuse. Murmured a complaint of annoyance, when their gaze turned towards me, still not forgetting to wink with a spring-like gaze. "You horse, what does it really look like? What kind of feeling does Kyo Pei have? These two dogs are simply a perfect match. I don't even know how to describe my feelings." Watching the movements of the two inside the carriage, suddenly a layer of goosebumps appeared. He turned around and left in a hurried manner. The next morning I set out on my journey, accompanied Zhu Bapi to board the train for the outing. The small county town has no airport. We first need to go to Chengdu before we can board the plane. After several hours of fiddling, finally made it before dark. Arrived at Yangjiang Airport. As it was my first time flying, I'm still a bit unaccustomed to it. I immediately leaned against the trash can and threw up after leaving the airport. I feel a ringing in my ears and dizziness. I'm even more tired than after a whole day on the train. Ju Bappy disdainfully handed over a bottle of mineral water. "What's going on with you, brother?" "If I had known earlier, I bought the high-speed train ticket because you were anxious. Hurry up and overcome it. MS Shen has already sent a car to pick us up. Sure enough, as I looked up, I just saw outside the airport a very luxurious business car pulled over. That year I had not seen much of the world. This is the first time I've ever been in such a nice car. Isn't it curious to look around? Ju Bappy might feel that. My behavior is quite embarrassing." Gently tapped my thigh. He signaled me with his eyes not to look like a country bumpkin. The car slowly enters the city, stopped in front of a star-rated hotel. The person in charge of receiving us was dressed in business attire. A short haircut, a middle-aged woman who appears fresh and capable. Her name is Lai Jai. It is MS Shen's personal assistant and agent. After receiving our ID cards, immediately went to the front desk to check in. He personally took us to the suite upstairs, speaking with a Hong Kong accent. "You must have had a hard time coming all this way. Please come in and rest in the room. MS Shen is still waiting for the announcement. I estimate I won't be able to make it until tomorrow night." "Meet you all." Ju Bappy chuckled and said, "It's nothing. MS Shen is such a big star. Work must be really slow. Let's stay at the hotel a little longer. It's nothing special. Watching sister Lai leave. I just accompanied Ju Bappy into the hotel room. Don't say the scenery of this coastal city isn't beautiful, especially in such high-end star-rated hotel suites. The large glass window faces the endless sea. Neon lights in the city. The sea reflects a myriad of colors. Everywhere is filled with an atmosphere of luxury. This is my first time seeing the sea. I can't even describe the excitement I feel inside." Say to Ju Bappy, listening to Huang Yun speak, "The scenery in coastal cities is usually quite beautiful. It's easy to find beautiful seashells by the sea. Anyway, MS Shan won't arrive until tomorrow night. How about we get up early tomorrow to go tide pooling?" Ju Bappy rolled his eyes. "Talk to me, brother. Can you please be quiet? Show your composure and presence as a feng shui master. Don't let others see it at a glance. You come from a small place. I am not convinced. What's wrong with coming from a small place?" "I'm not as good at pretending as you are." Ju Bappy was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. "Don't forget. What are we here for? MS Shan is not easy to meet. Wait until this job is done. I will take you to the biggest entertainment center by the seaside. This should be it, right?" Only after hearing him say that did I give up. Leaning on the sofa, I asked, "MS Shen's career is thriving. All of a sudden. Why think of 1,000 graves?" Ju Bappy said, "The situation is like this. There has been some trouble with their old family grave recently. I heard there was a heavy storm in the mountains. The tombstone was washed away by the mountain flood. After that, MS Shen became unlucky. Not only in his career is he always starting from scratch. Several recently negotiated commercial blockbusters. It also fell through for various reasons. MS Shen felt there might be a problem with the feng shui at home. That's when someone finally got in touch with me. I want to find a reliable feng shui master, help him gather 1,000 treasures, change to a place with better feng shui, ensure your career sails smoothly." I shook my head after listening. Give the ancestral grave 1,000 treasures. It's not a small matter. In such matters, it's better to remain still than to act. You should know. The ancestors are resting peacefully underground. You suddenly dug open his grave. He insists on moving to a different place to live. If the location of the new grave is chosen well, it would be fine. What if I choose the wrong place? I fear I have leaked the blessings of my ancestors, causing chaos for future generations. Jubapi nodded and said, "That's just how it is. That's why they reached out to me through connections. I must comply. Find him a reliable feng shui master." I was laughing at this old guy. Pointed at himself. Said, "So what makes you think that?" "I will definitely be reliable." Jubapi said, "Aren't you Chen Mazi's adopted son?" "Since childhood, I learned feng shui theories from him. After so many years of study, how could it be unreliable? Listening to him talk about my adoptive father, I can't help but feel curious." "How to say?" "You even know my adoptive father," Jubapi said. "How could I not know? Your adoptive father when he was young. This story could be quite significant. Not any worse than Lord Hewing-Si, although they were taught by the same master. But neither side would yield to the other when we were young. Also, we clashed a few times out of spite. I was still young back then. I saw your adoptive father with my own eyes. How to activate a piece of feng shui land. He talked to me about some things. When my adoptive father was young, I listened with great interest. He asked again, since my adoptive father was so capable when he was young, so why did they later run away to live in a small place? Jubapi shook his head. I don't know about that. It is said that the dragon vein was accidentally disturbed, touched by the leaf fruit. I am not clear about the specific reasons. Didn't Master Hewing-Si tell you? I smiled bitterly, talking about Lord Hewing-Si's temper. Even smellier than my adoptive father. Two senior brothers. It's like it was carved from the same mold. Rarely talked to me about matters of the sect. Jubapi pretended to be profound. I won't talk about the previous generation. Maybe it's also for your own good. You are still young. After a few more years of experience, after mastering the skills, maybe Hugh and Yi will tell you the truth. Maybe. Actually, I have always been very curious. The experiences of my adoptive father's youth. Unfortunately, he refused until his death. Reveal a little. Finally became Lord Hewing-Si's apprentice. I didn't expect Hewang-Si's mouth. More cunning than my adoptive father. I don't know. What are they really hiding? I've been running around all day, and I'm quite tired. After taking a shower, I quickly fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I didn't get out of bed until the afternoon. Finally shook off the discomfort brought by the dizziness. I estimate myself. It's just not a life meant for enjoying blessings. Before taking a plane, I've always felt this way about these. The iron lump flying in the sky holds onto fantasies. I really took a flight. It feels just about okay. It's really uncomfortable to be tossed around like this. Jubapi smiled and comforted me. Just wait, you'll get used to it later. We casually ate something by the roadside. It dragged on until evening. Sister Lai with the refreshing short hair came again yesterday. He politely invited us to get in the car. MS Shen has already arrived in Yanjiang, waiting for us in the restaurant private room. We immediately set off with Sister Lai. Half an hour later, arrived at a very unique tea restaurant on the outskirts of the city. This restaurant is located in a somewhat hidden spot. The scenery around is nice. Several large koi ponds were also built, but the entrance is rather quiet. Can't see a few guests. Jubapi whispered an explanation to me. The true wealthy people know how to act. They are usually very low-key. Don't be fooled by the quiet location of this restaurant. It is indeed a place where many big bosses gather privately to discuss business. Before long, we went up to the second floor of the tea restaurant. The female assistant helped us open the door. I spotted one at a glance. with long wavy hair, a beautifully dressed, sophisticated woman. Gen Y leaned back in the chair, gently glanced over to our side. She was wearing a large pair of sunglasses on her face, almost covering half of the face, although the exact features are unclear. But this graceful figure and exceptional demeanor, yet I recognized the other person's identity at a glance. Jubapi had clearly met MS Shen before, approached enthusiastically to shake hands and greet, then turned around and pointed at me. Started with the introduction. MS Shen appeared very calm. No wonder they are a big star who has seen the world. Why gets up slightly. Extend your right hand to shake mine. I quickly rushed forward, gently grasped her hand. Don't say that this big star knows how to take care of themselves. MS Shen has been in the industry for over 10 years. Definitely not young anymore, but the arms are smooth and delicate. Her skin is even better than that of an ordinary girl. I feel the momentary softness conveyed through my fingertips, just as I was about to pull my hand back. It was merely a polite gesture, but it made me shiver all over. Even the eyeballs were widened quite a bit. Why are this woman's fingers so cold? Out of curiosity, I carefully observed MS Shen's features. The sunglasses on her face covered her eyes, but the area below the forehead and nose tip. But it was very obvious. This is incredible. I found her hard candy turned purple. The gate of heaven dims. It seems like falling stars are swirling around. A cloud of mist pressed down on the heavenly gate. Almost no divine light can be seen. Secondly, there are actually cracks appearing under the mountain root. The career line in the palm is chaotic. Clearly, it is a rise followed by a decline. Signs of impending bad luck. Perhaps my appearance is too obvious. Kept staring at MS Shan without moving. Jubapi felt that I had offended him a bit. Gently coughed. Gently tapped my shoulder with a finger. I just snapped back to reality. Silently sat down opposite MS Shen. After sitting down, the female assistant poured a cup of tea for each of us, then gently closed the door, voluntarily exited the private room. MS Shen finally spoke. Thank you for coming all this way to help me with the grave signing. Thank you for your hard work. Zhu Bapi quickly began to be polite. No problem. MS Shen is a hot superstar from Hong Kong and Taiwan. It is our honor to serve you. This fat guy. This speaker is quite skilled. Secretly and openly they have been flattering others. MS Shen, who heard this, but didn't show much excitement. Instead, he let out a slight sigh. These years have also not been good. Everything seems to go wrong no matter what. Otherwise, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. Please help me sign the grave. She began to discuss serious matters. I interrupted blindly. MS Shen, what you said is not smooth. Which specific aspect are you referring to? She looked at me. Show a bit of hesitation. Maybe I made the same mistake as most people. The flaw of judging people by their appearance. I feel that I'm too young. Might not be able to help oneself. But she has good upbringing. It wasn't directly expressed. Just let out a faint sigh and said, everything is going wrong. First, an accident happened at home. Little brother is also starting to have bad luck. A driver broke their leg in an accident. Another fight at school. Stabbed by a few thugs with a spring knife. Don't be fooled by the seemingly glamorous surface. Can shed this layer of starlight. Still the same as an ordinary person. Need to worry about family matters. Because there are always troubles back home. This left MS Shen distracted all day. I can't focus. Mistakes kept happening during the filming. I unexpectedly fell off a horse. causing rib injuries. Signs of a fracture have appeared. She was sent to the hospital for treatment afterward, due to health reasons. Delayed the filming schedule of the crew. MS Shan originally felt quite guilty. Wait until the body feels a bit better. Just about to meet the director in person to apologize. Who would have thought to hear it from the director? The investors are rushing to meet the deadline. They actually revised the script overnight. The rest of her storyline was given to other actresses. Just like that, MS Shan has fallen from the leading actress to a supporting role. That drama became a huge hit after it aired. The actress who was supposed to replace her became an overnight sensation, became a hotshot superstar. However, the one who should have taken the lead role, MS Shen, but missed the opportunity to continue rising in popularity. From then on, I've just never had good luck. Not only was the cruise contract overturned, even some prearranged performance opportunities, also faced with the investors' unjustified withdrawal. Both physical and mental health are deteriorating. It's been a long time since I've been in the front line scene. At this point in the story, MS Shen couldn't help but feel a bit melancholic. Lowering his head, he adjusted his sunglasses. It seems like my body is not feeling well. My gaze flickered slightly, staring intently at MS Shen's eyes beneath her sunglasses. I always feel that this woman exudes a certain aura, an unsettling odor. It seems like you've been in contact with something unclean recently. There is actually a question that I've always found strange. The light in the tea restaurant is so dim. Why does MS Shen always wear sunglasses? Are you afraid of being recorded? I am someone who speaks whatever is on my mind. Lin Mo immediately spoke to her. You've been wearing sunglasses all along. Are you afraid of encountering paparazzi? No. MS Shen came back to her senses, opening my eyes nervously. I have not been feeling well lately. I haven't slept well for several days in a row. Wearing sunglasses is to hide dark circles. Speaking, she took off her sunglasses. I focused intently. Indeed, MS Shen's eyes darkened, wearing deep dark circles under the eyes. The corner of the eye and fate wheel are distant yet connected, but there were no signs of them connecting in a line. This facial feature is very strange, especially me. Still on MS Shen's forehead, I sensed a faint aura of death. I was already about 70 to 80% sure. Have you been sleeping well lately? Do you always feel anxious, suffocating, difficulty breathing, even dreaming of? A stranger appeared at home. She looked surprised, busy asking how I knew. You are absolutely right. Recently, as soon as I close my eyes, I always feel a heaviness in my head. My ears still often ring. Short-sighted schemes. I've seen many doctors, but it's no use. A psychologist said, this is because I am under too much stress. Showed me some sleeping pills. The sleep aid effect of this medicine is quite good. MS Shen takes her medication every time after meals. You can fall asleep quickly. Even if I fall asleep, it's also not stable. I don't know if it's because of my anxious mood. I always feel like there's someone standing by the head of my bed. No matter how hard I try, I can't open my eyes either. It became even harder to see that person's appearance. Just feel like that person has been by my side all along. Sometimes it weighs on my chest, occasionally pressing down on the leg. Sometimes even chokes herself. Every time she wakes up, you often feel even more exhausted than before you fell asleep. I ask, when did this situation begin? MS Shen tilted her head and thought for a moment. Let's say it was about half a year ago, after my parents passed away one after the other. During that time, I was in a particularly bad mood, busy dealing with family funeral affairs. I stayed up several nights and couldn't fall asleep. After that, the state never recovered. I always have doubts. Parents may have unfulfilled wishes. That's why you came to me in a dream. But they— I shook my head. It has nothing to do with your parents. Your problem is caused by other factors. MS Shen gasped in surprise. Speak. What is the problem? I didn't say anything. Pian Tizu looked towards Ju Bapi. This old fellow has also figured out some tricks. Cleared his throat and asked, during the time your parents were born, have you ever experienced something unusual? MS Shen looked bewildered. It can't be said that there isn't. I was quite busy with my career during that time. I have been discussing the contract with my agent. By the way, I went out with old Wu once before. He took me to a temple to pray. It is said that it can bless my career success. Does this count? Who is Lao Wu? Ju Bapi and I exchanged puzzled glances. MS Shen hesitated for a moment. Then he lowered his head and smiled bitterly. Lao Wu is my behind-the-scenes boss. I also relied on his help. Only by having talent can one enter the entertainment industry, becoming a top star. It was clear that MS Shen didn't seem very willing. Speaking of old Wu, there was a constant expression of resistance on her face. Ju Bapi coughed. He said in a deep voice, MS Shen, I want to tell you something. It is not satisfactory. Since you have chosen us, just honestly speak out your problems. You don't need to worry. This will bring trouble to oneself. We have professional ethics. Keep client information confidential. It is also part of the work. All right. MS Shen let out a long sigh. It seems like a big decision has been made. He let out a bitter laugh. Actually, it's nothing much. The entertainment industry is inherently chaotic. Since I've stepped into this line of work, cannot escape tradition. Actually, most female celebrities, the reason for becoming popular, most of it is relying on the resources of the behind-the-scenes boss for support. Otherwise, you don't have that much. An opportunity to join a big production crew. This old Wu, it's MS Shen's behind-the-scenes boss. It's not an exaggeration to say they are secret lovers. MS Shen grew up in a poor family, born into a lowly background. Originally, according to her own conditions, it's impossible to shine brightly in the entertainment industry. Just when we were young, because of an opportunity, encountered old Wu, the Hong Kong businessman. Old Wu had a lot of energy during the Hong Kong-Taiwan era. And knowingly, surprisingly, I fell for someone in the production team. MS Shan, who works behind the scenes, he secretly pursued her. Still promise, as long as MS Shan follows me, you will definitely obtain a large amount of resources. Push to the forefront, becoming a movie star. It's not impossible either. Just like that, MS Shen moved in with him. Lao Wu did not deceive him. MS Shen indeed became an overnight sensation. Not long after, Lao Wu leveraged his connections, gave MS Shen a chance to audition. MS Shen, although not formally trained, but he has a great talent for acting, successfully auditioned on the spot, and gained great fame from this drama, became a popular young actress. After that, with the support of Lao Wu's resources again, he continuously took on several major production series. In just 3 short years, I swam against the current, became a top star in Hong Kong and Taiwan. After becoming famous, troubles also came right after. Hong Kong and Taiwan stars are actually very tired. In pursuit of exposure, need to frequently rush for announcements. Attending various entertainment venues, accept invitations from various television stations. Bad said, MS Shen sacrifice a lot of her personal time. I rarely get to see old Wu. Even so, MS Shen is still very grateful to old Wu. Lao Wu is her first. He is also the only man. MS Shen really wants to marry old Wu whenever there is an opportunity. I would talk to old Wu about this matter, but old Wu just seemed to be going through the motions. He always uses various excuses to evade her. MS Shen gradually sensed something was wrong. I secretly hired someone to investigate. This is when I realized. It turns out old Wu had long ago married a woman in Southeast Asia. She is under the guise of an investment, returning to the homeland to do business. There was never any intention. I have been with MS Shan all along. For this matter, the two had a big argument. MS Shan said it was a private matter between the two of them. Hope Lao Wu divorces his original spouse, remarrying oneself, but old Wu always keeps brushing himself off. This has been dragged out until now. Talking about this experience, MS Shen's eyes began to glisten with tears. Me and Jubapi, they exchanged a glance. Their eyes flickered slightly at each other. Jubapi continued to ask, "Since old Wu is just playing around with you, plan to throw it away after using it. Then why, after all these years, I haven't completely gotten rid of you yet." Her words are very straightforward. MS Shan couldn't take it anymore after listening. Gritted teeth said, "Lao Wu can't live without me. Because of me. After becoming famous, she worked with her company. There are also quite a few collaborations. I still have quite a few skills at hand about her dark secrets. These years, I rely on these dark secrets to maintain the relationship with her. Understood?" Ju Bappy slapped his thigh. With a bitter smile, he said, "You're confused. Facing a man who doesn't love you. Why are you still holding on? With your status and position. Still worried about not finding a suitable partner." MS Shen stubbornly said, "Although I have always been mingling in the entertainment industry, but I'm not the kind of woman who is easy. I gave my first time to Lao Wu. She is my first. He is also the only man. I have nothing to be sorry for her. I just want her to take on a man's responsibilities. Is this also wrong?" Ju Bappy fell silent, sat back down in the chair with a speechless expression. MS Shen retorted, "Why are you inquiring about my personal matters? What does this have to do with my bad luck?" Ju Bappy shrugged and said, "The situation is actually very clear. I will tell you my own judgment. You must be mentally prepared. You must have been schemed against. Lao Wu has long wanted to shake you off. Yet you suffer because you hold her weakness in your hands. I have always been afraid to come and respond. That's why I took the opportunity to bring you to the temple to pray. Secretly used a certain method. You are haunted by the heroic spirits. MS Shen goes to the place of worship. It's definitely not a proper temple. After she finished praying at the temple, that's why I feel distracted. It is entangled by dirty things." Ju Bappy nodded. "Is this still useful?" 99% is like this. MS Shen's skin was originally very fair. Now it's even whiter. Shaking their head helplessly said, "It can't be like this. How could Lao Wu be so heartless to me, even if she holds a grudge against me because of the marriage issues? It should only target me. Why, even my parents?" Upon hearing this, I also started to have doubts. Touching his chin, he said, "It's also possible that the trouble you encounter, there is more than one. Perhaps the aura is too low. While being schemed against by Lao Wu, the feng shui of my hometown has also gone awry. So the entire family also faced misfortune. No way. MS Shan was completely panicked. Pale complexion. Slumped in the chair. I said two unfortunate things, simultaneously happening to the same person. The probability is indeed not high. But after all, it is still possible. All right, then. The plan for Kyanfin remains unchanged. I'll accompany you to visit your hometown first. What if something really happened to the old grave? I will help you personally. Choose a good way to learn quickly. As for that spirit bothering you, you don't need to be too nervous. I have a way to keep him away from you for a while. MS Shen looked at me suspiciously. Do you really have a solution? What are your plans? I said this is actually very simple. You have already been entangled by that spirit. More than half a year. But until now, there was no significant danger encountered. You possess a high level of charisma and blessings. Common spirits can't harm you in a short time. Usually, when the spirit harms people, only chooses to face bad luck. People without much blessing take action. MS Sen can transform from an ordinary woman, striving to become a Hachat superstar. Your own charm and blessings are sufficient. Most of the spirits are coerced by a certain mage. I had no choice but to harass MS Shen. But the spirit's ability shouldn't be particularly strong. It took half a year. She hasn't completely exhausted her blessings yet. This ghost is not hard to deal with. Truly troublesome. It's still the person behind who released this ghost. I plan to hire a town guardian. Let MS Shen wear it on her person, relying on the spirit of the town's artifact to suppress the heroic spirits, just to ensure her short-term safety. MS Shen seemed to understand, but also not understand. Ask me what it means to be a guardian of objects. I said that the town's talisman is something that brings misfortune. Even ghosts fear the wicked. The stronger the malevolent energy, the better it can exorcise spirits. It's like the slaughtering knife in the hands of rural butchers. This thing sees blood every day, full of menace. Generally, wandering souls and ghosts see. Immediately, they will flee without a trace. MS Shen looked troubled. You can't go through life always carrying a slaughter knife, can you? I smiled, pointed at Jubapi. Of course, it's impossible for me to really give you a pig slaughtering knife. This is something that old Ju can help with. He specializes in this. It's not difficult to ask for a town's protective charm. MS Shan agreed with my statement. But there are still a few things that need to be dealt with. We have to wait 3 more days before they can take us back to the old house. I'm not in a hurry to set off either. Nodded and said okay. After all, it takes time to invite the guardian of the town. We have food and shelter in Yangzhou. Someone is responsible for everything, from eating to drinking and other needs. Staying a few more days doesn't matter. When I returned to the hotel, I'm still pondering over MS Shen's situation. Ju Bappy was in a bad mood, staring at me with wide eyes. It feels like I just teased his wife. I'm completely baffled. Ask him what happened. What did you say? Who made you promise to ask MS Shen for the town's items? Do you know how expensive a town artifact can be? Please just go ahead. You still won't say you want more money. I ended up losing a sum for nothing. I couldn't help but chuckle. Ju Bappy's greed for money is hard to change. When it comes to money, they are very calculating. It made me both angry and amused. MS Shen is a major client, as long as you serve people well. Are you still worried she won't pay? Ju Bappy thought about it too. He nodded in agreement. He turned around and made a phone call. Then tell me, the town's items need to be transported from the north. It may take 48 hours. That day, we continued to stay at the hotel. I wanted to go out for a stroll. The weather in Yangjiang is not good. Soon a typhoon began to blow. It's raining heavily outside. The sky is overcast and nothing is visible. I can't find anything to do. Can only squat and sleep in the hotel. I probably slept until around 11 or 12 at night. Suddenly I heard something outside the corridor. There was a rapid knocking on the door. Woke me up. Yawn and go open the door. It turned out to be MS Shen's assistant, standing right outside. At that time, a typhoon was still raging outside the hotel. The female assistant is wearing a raincoat. Shivering from the cold, the clothes are all marked with water stains from the rain. I asked in surprise, "Li Jai, what's going on?" The female assistant said to me in a flustered manner, "MS Shen has had an accident since she met with you all in the afternoon." Returning home, my mental state continued to deteriorate. Woke up in the middle of the night with a sudden fever, still insisting it's nonsense. Fortunately, the female assistant lives with MS Shen. I heard something coming from her room when I got up at night, the sound of humming and murmuring. Only when the light was turned on did I realize. MS Shen's face was pale. Zhang lay on the bed with a pained expression. "It feels like something is choking me. Even breathing feels exhausting." The female assistant quickly contacted the driver. They took MS Shen to the hotel downstairs overnight. "I want you to go downstairs and take a look." Seeing her in such an anxious state, I suspect that MS Shen's situation might not be good. Can't even greet. Ju Bappy from the next room. Hurriedly accompanied her to the place where she stopped downstairs. Opened the door of the business van. I indeed saw MS Shen lying inside. At that moment her face was pale. The eyes were an eerie gray-white, like two grapes wrapped in skin, especially obvious under the car lights. Staring blankly at the car roof. Hands still kept clenching on the neck. "I can't breathe at all. It seems the heroic spirit has come to trouble her again." I quickly took out a calming talisman, gently pressed against her forehead. With both hands together I began to chant the incantation. MS Shen's expression suddenly became more pained. The mechanical mouth opened. Emit irregular sounds. "Oh dear." Voice. "The mouth is getting bigger and bigger." I increased the frequency of chanting the incantation. After a while, MS Shen's symptoms have significantly eased. Her complexion slightly regained some redness. He gasped for breath and looked at me. How did I end up in the car?" "What happened?" I said, "You are haunted by the ghostly hospital. I almost dodged the blow just now. It seems that old Wu can't wait any longer. I plan to resolve you quickly." MS Shen looked a bit dazed. She had just escaped the entanglement of the haunted institute, completely unaware of the situation, until the female assistant leaned in. She spoke while sleeping at midnight. Sudden onset of difficulty breathing. She suddenly sat up. He said to me with a look of panic, "Did I really just get haunted by a ghost?" "Did you see clearly? What does a ghost look like?" I shake my head. It's not that I'm being haunted by ghosts, but is possessed by the resentment of the dark spirit. This situation, it's different from being directly possessed by a ghost. I am not on MS Shen, sensing the presence of a ghost. She explained how to choke her by the neck. It's not a real ghost, but rather to the method master, using dark spells, invoke the vengeful power of the spirits. It affected her from a distance. This also indicates the cursed sorcerer, not a small ability. MS Shen is very anxious. Stammering, he asked me what to do. I said it's nothing. After all, you are a public figure. The other party still doesn't dare to be open and honest. What can I do with you? Only these ghostly tricks can be used to torment your spirit. I have just dispelled it. The resentment within you. It won't happen now. I let MS Shen continue to go home and rest. But she didn't dare. Terrified. Suddenly, they wrapped their arm around mine, rubbing it hard in my arms. Still stammering, she asked me if she could live with me, so that we won't be like this when we go back. I find it both funny and frustrating. I'm still a simple guy. How can I sleep in the same room with her? MS Shen was too frightened. Shaking his head vigorously, he said, "But what if after I leave you? What should I do if that mage attacks me again? Only by staying by your side. Only then can I ensure that nothing will happen to me." Got it. She has become dependent on me again, considering that it will take at least 2 days for the evidence to be sent over. I can only agree. She asked her to go to my room. Don't say that MS Shen is older, but as a star, enjoy the highest quality resources. Her skin and figure maintenance are impeccable, adding Zhu Shen's unique star quality. In the middle of the night, stay in the same room with me. I want to say, if there's no reaction in your heart, then it must be a lie. Fortunately, my resolve is strong enough. Sitting cross-legged on the sofa, meditating. He stayed by her side the entire night. At least nothing went wrong. The typhoon struck the next day. As soon as the sun rises, MS Shen's complexion has improved. I told her, don't be afraid during the day, because of the lingering spirit that entangled her. Not very strong. During the day, there is no ability to run out and cause trouble. Let MS Shen go about her own business with peace of mind. But after what happened last night, MS Shen is no longer willing to leave me, holding on to ask me, can I always stay by her side? I see that you're a bit troubled. She hurriedly said, I can pay again. Consider it as your payment for the bodyguard's services. Rich people are extravagant. A fool doesn't earn money when it's available. Anyway, I'm in Guangdong. There's nothing to do. So I agreed. Next, I have been following MS Shen for 2 days. Except when she goes to the bathroom or takes a shower. Leave me outside. Almost inseparable from the shadow. Even when sleeping, I have to be in the room. Bardin, in the beginning, I still have feelings for this actress, harboring great curiosity. But as time went on, it feels like these so-called stars. Actually, there's not much difference from ordinary people. It's all the same, eating, drinking, and going to the bathroom. When feeling afraid, they can also be so scared that they can't sit still and tremble. The halo of admiration for the stars in my heart slowly fades away. It doesn't feel that way. How mysterious is she? I kept watch over her for 2 days like this, until the morning of the third day. Ju Babi's evidence has also arrived. It is a crescent-shaped pendant, tied together with a red string. Can be hung around the neck for easy carrying. This thing resembles a dog tooth, but it needs to be much thicker. Clearly shows signs of special processing and polishing. Many curved symbols were also engraved. Before I handed the evidence pendant to MS Shen, I specifically asked Zhu Bapi, how did this pendant come to be? It was shaped and polished using the fangs of a dart. The aura is particularly heavy, but something that has taken several lives. It is said that a tiger gives birth to 3 cubs. There must be a hidden dart. Bio is the most vicious among the tiger pack, the most intimidating one. Legend has it that when a mother tiger is pregnant with 3 cubs, it will inevitably take the weakest among them, abandoning the underdeveloped cubs. This is because the natural climate where tigers live is harsh. The prey is not enough to raise 3 tiger cubs at the same time. Typically abandoned young tigers will die from starvation and freezing, or become prey for other predators. But there is one exception. If the abandoned young tiger grows up through hardships, will become part of legend. The escort will not only kill the mother tiger for revenge, it might even eat its own brothers. The escort is also a tiger, but inherently ferocious, bloodthirsty, even fiercer and harder to catch than an ordinary tiger, even during times of food shortages, descending the mountain to eat people. The pendant I gave you, it is made from the fangs of the dart. This thing has bitten and killed quite a few people in its lifetime. Lived for over 50 years. Later, he was killed by a tiger due to his old age and frailty. Just so happens I have a friend who heard about this. He spent a fortune to buy the 2 tusks of the bio, used to create the dart objects. Zhu Bapi talked about the origin of this pendant, with a smug expression on his face. A guard who has lived for over 50 years, has already become a mountain lord, claimed to be a great demon. His fangs can pierce evil. Don't underestimate a mere heroic spirit. Even the Ghost King might not be able to. I saw MS Shen's figure. I thought to myself, go ahead and brag. Let's see how I'll expose you in the future. Afterwards, I handed the pendant to MS Shen. Let her wear it at all times. Can ensure not to be affected by that resentment. MS Shen picked up the tiger tooth and examined it closely. Suddenly, he asked me a question. I am clearly being haunted by a ghost. Why aren't you like what they show on TV? Directly open the bullet-making method. Lure out the ghost and perform a purification. I smiled and said, what's shown on TV is all fake. I have explained it before. What binds you is not a ghost, but the mage on the opposite side, using the resentment stirred by ghosts. His current state. It's different from directly encountering a ghost. In simple terms, it was left with hair and blood, marked using a ghost curse. The practitioner chants spells every now and then, cursed by the vengeful spirits. Make him restless, but one cannot see the true spirits. You need to deal with your troubles. We must find the one who cast the spell, destroy the medium that the other side uses to control the ghostly resentment. It's difficult to explain. In short, if you trust me, then just do it well. After what happened these past 2 days, MS Shen has made me feel happiness and dependence. Quickly apologize and say, Master Wang, I'm sorry. I shouldn't question your abilities. I said at the waist. It's okay. Hurry up and take care of your work. This matter should not be delayed any longer. We need to hurry up. MS Shen followed my suggestion, declined a large amount of work, finally found some time, made an appointment with us, returning home the day after tomorrow afternoon. Her hometown is also a rural area. It took 2 hours to reach the village entrance. MS Shen is on the road. They talked to us about things at home. Since becoming famous, I haven't really gone back home much. The funeral of my parents. All are handled by relatives of the same clan. They say people fear fame and pigs fear growing fat. It seems becoming a star. Not necessarily all good things. Even going back to my hometown requires avoiding the villagers. Until after dark. We have just arrived at MS Shen's hometown, a vast area, a rather grand 3-story courtyard. MS Shen said that after she became famous, earned a lot of money, in addition to meeting daily expenses, gave a sum back to my parents, let them properly renovate the old family house. Originally, it was planned to let the elders enjoy a few more years of peace in the hometown. Who knew you would leave so early? I nodded silently. In fact, sudden wealth may not be a good thing, if such wealth is not destined for you. Yet they still enjoy these blessings. It is very likely that it will take away from one's lifespan. Many newly wealthy people have come into money, and so began the indulgent life of revelry, irresponsible private life. But such a person, often a few years pass. It will lead to the ruin of the family fortune, or perhaps various problems arise in the body. This is the reason. Of course, it's hard to say right now. MS Shen's parents. What caused the simultaneous passing of both? I entered the yard. He patrolled back and forth with a flashlight. No significant abnormalities were found. Usually, rural people build houses. All are very particular about the process. People along the Guangdong coastal area are particularly superstitious. Every household would do this before building a house. Invite a feng shui master to assess the geographical location. Generally, no major issues arise. I turned around with my flashlight on. Come back and tell MS Shen. She talks about the feng shui of her family's Western-style house. It's still manageable. Will not affect the family's fortune. MS Shen breathed a sigh of relief and said, I feel the same way. When the old house was torn down and rebuilt, my dad even specially invited. 2 feng shui masters have come to see. I said since the problem doesn't lie with the house. That might be the ancestral grave. Inquire about the location of MS Shen's family grave. I plan to head into the mountains tonight to take a look. MS Shen looked at the night outside. The old grave is quite far from the village. I haven't been there much in the past few years. Let's wait until dawn. Let's go back into the mountains and search. I said it's best to visit the cemetery at night. The moon is quite nice today. It's perfect for grave visits. If you're not feeling well, then don't go. I can go into the mountains with old Zhu too. MS Shen became nervous again. What should I do if you leave? I pointed at the tighter tooth pendant hanging from her neck. Tell me what you fear. There is evidence on him. Evil energy cannot find you that quickly. MS Shen compromised. I drew you a sketch. No time to waste. Zhu Bapi and I set off overnight, according to the marked positions on the sketch, searching along the mountains. First, we climbed the nearest hill. Feng Shui emphasizes climbing high mountains and observing the dragon's veins. The main city runs from east to west. The west side is the side market. Facing south is favorable for the market. Heading south is going against the trend. There are many ways to practice Feng Shui. Most of the learning comes from mountains and rivers. Of course, this reasoning is not entirely accurate. Some enchanting metaphysics that captivates the heavens and earth, often presented in various unimaginable ways. But that's not within the scope of our discussion. True spirituality can only be possessed by those who truly seek it. Even if you see it, you can't say it. MS Shen is not worthy of spiritualism. From the terrain here, the area where MS Shen's family's old grave has risen, surrounded by mountains. There is a winding path ahead. The path is surrounded by dense water channels and directly connects to the surrounding peaks. Once it rained, mountains and waters above the peaks, it will be like falling pearls. Wrap the snowy eyes. The old grave is situated on a hill, Dragon Head, sitting on the mountain gazing at the water. No matter how much water there is, it can't surpass the snow peak. Once caught in a flood, it has reached the highest point. It will bring the auspicious sign of the golden dragon beads. It can be said to be a prime snow eye. Unfortunately, the surrounding mountains are rather thin, unable to connect in a straight line. The jagged stones on the surrounding mountains, It is even more like cuts from a knife and chisel, forming a sharp knife aimed at the snow eye. The immortal is buried here. There will surely be someone within 3 generations. Dapai. But this great wealth, although it has a destiny of prosperity, but there was no protection afterward, often ends in misery. Even lie alone in solitude for a lifetime. Considering MS Shen's current predicament, this just confirms that point. Ju Bapi is just like me, standing high on the hill, looking down. But he hasn't studied Feng Shui much. I can't figure out what's going on. Then gently pushed me with a knife. Little brother, visiting MS Shen's home. Why did it turn out badly? I nodded and said, I can see it now. The place where his grandfather is buried. It can be considered a spiritual spot. Within 3 generations there will surely be great wealth. It's just that the merits of this family are too thin. Virtue does not match, even though there was wealth. But it may not necessarily lead to a good outcome. Adding to the terrain of the mountains here, affected by typhoon weather. The mountain endured the mountain flood and heavy rain. Year-round erosion, the air has already leaked out. So it will be defeated relatively quickly. Then I pointed to the mountain range on the left. Look at that position. Mountain pass. As the landslide collapsed, this has caused a gap to appear. This gap. This is what caused the atmosphere in MS Shen's home. Reasons for weakening. Originally, this place had thin mountain terrain. It's easy to gather energy, but hard to hold onto it. Now on the left side, a gap of this size has appeared again, causing the gospel to constantly leak. Over a long time, it will definitely lead to the decline of energy, completely turned into waste snow. Ju Bapi asked again, how should we handle it? We need to find a good place. Re-sign its grave. I shook my head. No need to say that. The charm of MS Shen's home. The reason for the decline. It is because of the reverse flow caused by the mountain eruption. A gap was formed, causing us to lose focus. As long as MS Shen brings in a batch of Qinglong stones, at the breach caused by the mudslide, build a Taoist temple or monastery, using the scent of incense. Block the gap, can once again harness the effect of gathering energy and hiding the wind. This kind of spiritual study is quite rare. In a short period of time, I may not be able to find a better blood eye. Adding a tombstone is also a major undertaking. If not necessary, it's better to take action than to just stay still. Ju Bapi stroked his chin and said, this method can only address the symptoms, not the root cause. Can it be effective continuously? I shook my head and said, how could it always be effective? The energy of the land changes at all times. Every time I experience an earthquake, mountain floods can cause shifts in the mountain's dragon vein. Today is Baeksu. It might become useless in just a few years. Otherwise, how could there be 30 years of changes in the river's east, 30 years in the river's west? One cannot always occupy a place of fortune. Especially MS Shen's merits are insufficient. An old saying goes that blessings cannot be enjoyed to the fullest. Using Feng Shui to forcibly gather energy, enjoying the wealth of too many families. This will lead their family to owe a debt of virtue. This lifetime, no return. In the next life, it must be repaid. The passing of 2 elderly people. This point has already been clarified. All right. I'm not too familiar with the principles of Feng Shui. Then let's do it your way. Ju Bapi agreed with my suggestion. He accompanied me down the mountain with a flashlight. By the time we went back and forth, it was almost dawn. MS Shen was not asleep. We just returned to her hometown. MS Shen rushed over eagerly. asked me how I'm doing. I said, "Your ancestral grave doesn't need to be moved, as long as a temple is built at the mountain pass. Offer incense. You can continue to live in wealth and honor, but it can only be preserved for 20 years. 20 years later, luck has run out. Family will also return to simplicity, estimated within 3 generations. He can achieve great things again. MS Shen is unwilling to accept. Can't you find a better degree? May my family always be lucky." I shook my head and said no. Doing this will exhaust your family's blessings early. You've been unlucky since last year, until today, just because I borrowed too much luck, causing the loss of fortune. Many things cannot be forced to stay. She looked very disheartened, but still reluctantly accepted it. The next day work began on the old home. MS Shen publicly claims it is to give back to the villagers. Planning to build a goddess temple in the back mountain. Allow villagers to visit the temple for worship at any time. People along the coast are inherently superstitious. The saying about building the goddess temple on the back mountain, it did not express any opposition, even received strong support from the village chief. I chose an auspicious day. Let them start the construction in 3 days, digging in a place marked with cinnabar. This temple doesn't need to be too large. The mountain here is too thin, cannot bear such great aura. As long as we can plug that gap, just ensure the wind direction doesn't change too quickly. This process took a few days, until the villagers completed the foundation. Drive all the stakes and gateposts into the ground. I am sure there won't be any unexpected situations. Just returned to the city with MS Shen. Now the issues with her hometown have been resolved. What comes next? It's about finding the person who put a curse on MS Shen. To be honest, this is also a significant challenge for me. Those who understand the ghost curse will not be weak. Let's not talk about whether I can find the other person, even if I find it. But if the other party refuses to back down, we might even have to duel. I am too young. I only learned some basic skills. There is no certainty that one can defeat the opponent. After much thought, I gave MS Shen a suggestion. The feng shui issue of your ancestral grave has been resolved, with the blessing of our ancestors, with the support of government affairs. The influence of the ghost curse on you has become minimal. Let's just leave it at that. The other party may no longer use ghost spells on you. However, MS Shen remained very persistent. Shaking his head, he said it wouldn't work. Other matters can be discussed easily. This matter is the only exception. I started following old Wu when I was 20. Spent over a decade of youth for him. I don't feel like I've done anything wrong to him. But that bastard actually hired someone to cast a curse on me. I can't hold back my anger. He must pay the price he deserves. MS Shen was very emotional. A chill spreads in my eyes. It made people unable to resist making a move. Indeed, a woman who is thoroughly enraged is not to be trifled with. A few days ago, she was still deeply in love with Lao Wu. Do everything possible to marry the other person. But once they find out about their bad luck, it all comes from old Wu's calculations. This kind of love